to our Tuesday night live weight loss broadcast. So tonight, we come to you live every single Tuesday where we're talking about weight loss tips to help make your weight loss journey just a little bit simpler and a little bit easier, as well as uploading free tips to our YouTube channel every single week. So if you have not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. That way you never miss an upload, you never miss a live, you never miss a tip. Who knows? Like, look, it's kind of like a baseball player. Like, a baseball player doesn't know when he's going to get into the batter's box and hit a home run, right? Like, you never know when you're going to hear the tip or the thing that can propel you or inspire you to make that change. I had failed for over a decade at weight loss. And if I would have just quit listening to tips or quit, searching YouTube to try to scour the web of something that would work for me, I never would have ended up going from a weight loss failure to a weight loss success. And so you never know when you're going to log in, watch one of our videos and be like, that will be the one thing where you're like, hey, that makes sense. And so anyway, welcome to the video tonight. My name is Carmen. If this is your first time joining us for any of our videos, hi, so good to meet you. Anyway, so tonight we are going to be talking about, do you identify as a fluffy person, an overweight person, a morbidly obese person, or do you identify as a skinny person? Now, if you're watching this and you're overweight, then you might be thinking, well, hello, Carmen. Of course I don't identify as being a skinny person. I'm fat. I'm overweight. I'm fluffy. I don't really like the term fat. I believe we can have fat, but I don't personally believe any single person is fat. It's something you can have, but it's not who you are. Does that make sense? And so I like to use the word fluffy. My husband makes fun of me. My kids, they are like, fluffy, Mom, what is that? Like, they're like 5 and 7. So anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about how you identify, how you see yourself, what you believe about yourself. Because believe it or not, prior to being a health coach and doing this whole weight loss thing, I was way back when I was in college, I was a psychology major. And one of the things I learned in psychology school, in college, to be a psychiatrist was how powerful your mind is, how powerful your thoughts are. And so your mind controls not only what you think. What you think controls your actions. What you think controls the words you speak. And I think most of us have heard that life and death is in the power of the tongue. What you speak, you will eat the fruit of it. That's not only psychological, it's biblical. We've all heard those things, that whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And for a very long time, I was overweight. In fact, cannot remember a time where I did not struggle somewhat with my weight. And the smallest I can ever remember being was a size 7 in the 7th grade. So I was never one of those little people that just gained weight in college or gained weight after having kids. Like, I was always on the bigger side of my friends. And as I got into an adult, for most of my adult life, I was the biggest person in the room. I just wasn't, one of the biggest. I was the biggest in the room, in most rooms. I'm sure there was an exception every now and again, but I can remember when I first started to lose weight. And one of the issues is how I thought of myself. And I had been a weight loss failure for more than a decade. Okay. I had tried almost every different diet under the sun. I had tried this pill, this injection, that injection, starving myself, no carbs, all the carbs, no fat, low fat, whatever, you name it, I did it. And some of it had some success, but even if I would lose 5 pounds, I would you ever lose it and then you go find it plus a couple, that was totally me. And so after a decade of doing this and popping out a couple kids and recommitting to, I've got to do something. I've got to lose some freaking weight. Like, not only does my life depend on it, but because let's face it, you don't see a lot of 60 and 70-year-olds walking around at morbidly obese. You just don't. And it was really facing those facts and realizing that, chances are chances are I'm cutting my own life short here. Chances are I might not live to see all my grandkids. You know, those are just the facts of the matter. I didn't have to like it, but those were the facts. And so I really took a long look at how I thought about myself, how I saw myself. And the truth was, even in my wildest dreams, there were times where I hoped to be skinny. There were times where I would see those fit people with muscles, and, you know, we'd go to a water park or the beach and I would see chicks in a bikini that had kids that were, you know, pushing 40. And I was like, man, like, I would like wish and hope and like, okay, like, God, if you could perform a miracle, because in my mind, that's what it was going to take, was a miracle for me to ever look like anybody like that. And part of that stemmed from what I believed, how I saw myself. I saw myself as being morbidly obese, because it was. I saw myself as being big boned. I identified with big boned. In fact, I had come to believe that I would never be one of those small people, that I would never, because that's just not, I believe that's not how my family was built. It's not how I was made. It's not, you know, God made those skinny little people and then he made me. And I was not one of those skinny little people. So when I ended up losing all the weight and went from a size 22 to a size 2, you can imagine my shock, right? Like, wait a minute, I'm not big boned? Like, wait, because big boned people don't wind up in a size 2, right? And so I really want to dive in over the next few minutes here onto what you think, what you identify with, how you see yourself. Because here's the deal. I had to see myself when I was first, you know, recommitted to losing weight. I remember talking to my husband and he's like, where do you want to go with this, babe? And I was like, you know, I want to be the hot blonde running down, back then I had blonde hair. I want to be that hot blonde running down the beach in a bikini. Only like in my like imagination, it was me and my husband on the beach. Like, I didn't want all these other guys gawking at me, but I wanted my husband to look at me and be like, dude, that's my wife. Like, I married that. Like, I married her. Like, I wanted him to look at me and be like, holy cow, I am God's favorite one. Like, I cannot believe I get to take her to bed tonight. And so that was just my thing, right? And so I can remember like saying to him, I want to be the hot blonde running down the beach in the bikini. Like, that's my goal, right? But I was morbidly obese. I was 288 pounds. So even though I could say it, at that time, I could not see it. I could say it, but I couldn't see it. And here's what I'm going to tell you. If you can't say it and you can't see it, because there would have been a time where I wouldn't even have been able to say it. Like, I really didn't want to tell anybody that that was my goal, because what if I fail? Like, what if I say it out loud? Like, what if I say I want to be skinny and I'm not? Like, what if I say that I want to be able to wear a bikini and I fail? Like, what if I actually let those words escape my mouth and it doesn't happen? Then I'm going to look silly. I'm going to look stupid. People are going to think, they're going to laugh at me. They're going to think, or I'm morbidly obese, right? I'm 288 pounds. You know how far I was from a bikini? So what if I say it and everybody thinks I'm ridiculous for even thinking that? So for so long, I would let the opinion of what other people might think about my goals keep me from even going there. So if you can't say it, you can't see it. And if you can't see it, you will never get there. I'm going to say that again. If you can't say it, you can't see it. And if you can't see it, it will never come to pass. It will never get there. You will never accomplish something. You will never get something that you don't even know you're going after. You will never transform your body if you're not intentionally doing it. And so I really had to get over myself in this department. I really had to grow a pair of cojones, some, you know, big manly balls, and like get over the fact of someone might laugh at me for saying I want to, at 288 pounds, for saying I want to be a hot blonde running down the beach in a bikini. But as long as I identified with morbidly obese, that's exactly where I was going to stay. As long as I identified with exactly where I was never going to go someplace else. And so it wasn't until here, let me say this first. I had to become the hot blonde in the bikini in my mind long before my body ever got there. I had to start thinking like who I was going to become before my body transformed to that. I had to start thinking, believing, seeing that person long before my body was there. And so that's exactly what happened. And so 280-pound Carmen, I set a goal, right? And it was like, okay, I need to stop. It's like anybody who's going after success, right? And you know, there's conferences that people pay thousands of dollars to fly across the country to go to, where they teach you how to do these affirmations, right? Speak it, feel it, see it. And these are things that people do every day. And the Bible calls it having a vision. A man without a vision will perish. And so if you don't have a vision of where you're going, you will certainly go nowhere. And so it was about catching a vision, creating a vision. And by the way, I want to say this because I used to think that I would just get the vision, that all of a sudden I would just wake up and stop seeing myself as a morbidly obese woman and start seeing myself as where I was going. But it never happened. I was never able at that point in my life to see myself outside of what my reflection in the mirror was. And so all I could see was the reflection in front of me. I didn't have the faith to see what I could become. All I had the faith to see was what was in front of me. That was it. And faith is the ability to see what your eyes cannot. Faith is the ability to see what your eyes can't see yet. What is to come, but isn't currently there. Does that make sense? And so I had to get some faith. And I had to believe before it even happened that it could happen and that I could do it. Because if I certainly didn't believe in me, who else was going to believe in me? Who else was going to believe in me? And everybody else, I could have a whole army of people that believed in me. Some of you have a lot of people that believe in you, that are cheering you on, that are rooting you on, but you don't believe in you. And let me tell you, I don't care how big the army of people is that believes in you. If you don't believe in you, the army of people mean nothing. Yes, it helps, and it's nice to have people that support you and believe in you. But the most important person, the person that controls this, is you. At the end of the day, it is you. And if you don't think you're good enough, doesn't matter who thinks you're good enough, you won't believe it anyway. You ever meet somebody who struggles with compliments, or maybe you struggle with compliments? Like, you know, sometimes my husband, the other night we were being intimate and I had put on some lingerie and I walked out and he was like, "Oh my gosh, you are like the hottest thing in the world." Like, oh my gosh. Like, and he's just like, and you know, for a moment, the old me popped into my head. And it was like, yeah, he's just saying that because he's my husband. He's just saying that because we're about to, you know, do the husband-wife special talking thing. He's just saying that to make me feel good. But it does me no good to think that. It does me no good to doubt what my husband is saying. It does me no good to somehow doubt that he doesn't mean what he's saying, that he's a man, that he would lie to my face about how he thinks I look. But what if he really does think that? The only thing I can do is take him at his word and believe him. It does me no good to doubt him. And so, like, some of us struggle taking compliments depending on what they are. That comes from a lack of belief. And so you have got to believe in yourself first and foremost. You have got to believe you can do it regardless of how many times you have failed in the past at weight loss. Let me tell you, your past does not equal your future. And just because you have failed at weight loss 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, count too many times to count, does not mean that the next time you take a swing at it, you're going to fail again. All that means is you are so much wiser because of all the experience you have. I look back and I think, man, I was a weight loss failure for a decade. That is how I know all this stuff. Like when I'm coaching some of my clients and they like try to give me this line of BS and I'm like, that's not, you're not being honest with me. And they're like, how did you know? I'm like, because you can't BS a BSer. Like I lived as a morbidly obese weight loss failure for more than a decade. Like and I tell my clients, I'm like, any of the stuff you're going through, I've been there. When you eat a piece of candy and you shove the wrapper to the bottom of the trash can because you don't want anybody to see that you ate the candy. Been there, done that. Like, when you're at a restaurant and you're full, but then you take your takeout home and you go home and eat the rest of it. Yeah, been there, done that, right? Like we all know those things. And so it's so funny. Sometimes I'll be talking about like these overweight habits. And my husband, he's never really had too much of a weight issue. And so he'll be like, really? You did that? Like, I'm like, yeah, babe. Almost every person who struggled with their weight has done this. This isn't like, I didn't invent it. He's just like, really? Oh my goodness. All right. So your body is going to follow what your mind believes. So first and foremost, you have to ask yourself the question of, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Is all you can see the fluff on your frame of what's in front of you? Or are you able to see past what's in front of you and see not only, okay, this is where I'm starting, but where am I going? Where am I going? All right. Now, let me tell you something about your brain. All right. We're going to talk a little psychology for a second. Your brain, this is really profound. All right. Then this isn't my opinion. This is science. Like they have actually proven this. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a lie and the truth. So isn't that crazy to think about? Like all your brain knows is what you tell it. It doesn't know if you're lying or you're being honest. It just knows what you tell it. So when I first decided that I was going to lose weight, it was about creating a vision of where I wanted to go. And it was about starting to see myself as who I was going to become instead of seeing myself as where I was. All right. And so it's like your GPS in your car. Your GPS, you put in the coordinates and then it tells you how to get there. But if you don't have the coordinates to tell your GPS where to take you, it can't take you there. So you've got to, yes, here's where I'm starting, but what's the coordinates of where I'm going? Yes, you clearly know where you're starting. You can get on the scale, you can look in the mirror, you can take your measurements, but you've got to have an idea of where you're going or there's no path, there's no coordinates, there's no directions on how to get there. All right. And so when I first started, I didn't really know. Again, I wasn't that person that started small and gained weight. I can never remember being smaller than a size 7, like buying a pair of pants that were smaller than a size 7. I have no recollection of lower than that. So in the way I figured out how big I wanted to be, because I get asked this question a lot, is I just went into Google and I Googled celebrities that are 5'4", because like I can't go down the street, Mary Jo Sue, and say, hey, I can't Google Mary Jo Sue. There's no information on her. But the downside to being a celebrity is all that stuff is public, like your height, your weight, your size, all of that is public information. So I didn't even know celebrities that were 5'4" and how much a healthy weight was. So I Googled celebrities that are 5'4". That's how tall I am. And it started showing me people like Britney Spears, Kim Kardashian, all these different people. And I was like, Jennifer Aniston. And I started looking at body types, right? And I was like, okay, how much does she weigh? How much does that weigh? Okay, if I had a magic wand and I could just, whoop, whoop, there you go. Like what would if failure wasn't an option, what would I design my body to look like? What would it be? If I wasn't afraid of failing and I could just wave my magic wand, what would my body look like? And that's how I narrowed it down. And so I set the goal at 288 pounds, the lofty goal of, okay, I set it to 135 pounds. And I thought, okay, 135 pounds, no, it was 130 pounds. And then as I get down, because my thought was that might be way too small. I wanted to have a butt. I wanted to have boobs. I wanted to have curves. I didn't want to lose all this weight and just look like a 10-year-old girl with no curves. Like I wanted to be smaller, but have curves that went with it, right? And so I set the goal for 130 pounds. You've got to know when that came out of my mouth, do you know how much faith that took to believe that, okay, I'm 288 pounds, all right? I'm busting out of a size 22. I squeeze myself into Spanx under every freaking thing I put on. But yet, coming out of my mouth, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna weigh 130. Like, I can only imagine what my husband thought the first time I ever said, hey babe, so I'm gonna go after this weight loss thing, and I'm really serious, and I'm gonna lose more. I'm gonna lose 160 some pounds. I can only imagine what he thought. Thank goodness that didn't come out of his mouth. But that took some faith to even say it. And I can remember the first time I said it, I was like, it just felt weird saying it. Because in the past, I would say things like, well, you know, I would be happy with a size 10 or 12, 14. Because a size 14 compared to a 22 is a big difference, right? It's a huge difference. And so I would say things out of fear of failure versus faith. My goals were all based, my past goals had all been based on fear of failure versus faith that I would succeed. And it wasn't until I thought to myself, what if failure was not an option? What if I had a magic wand and I could just, cha-cha-cha? It's like a ninja wand. And I could create whatever body I wanted. If I could trade places with anybody on the planet, whose body would I be like, whoop, whoop, whoop? And I didn't go for anybody that was a size 14 or a size 12 or a size 10. I liked Kim Kardashian's body. I liked Britney Spears' body. I liked Jennifer Aniston's body. Those are the bodies I looked at and I was like, man, if I had the ninja wand, that's who I would trade with. And then I started saying it to myself first because I had to convince myself. And the more you talk about it, the more you think about it, the more you start to believe it. Right now, if you're sitting here looking at me like, this chick is crazy, like she wants me to think or to say, I'm telling you, I know this sounds nuts, but not only is this what I did to lose 161 pounds, but this is psychology. This is science. Like this is some of the smartest people in the world that have proven the power of your mind and what you believe you can achieve and how important it is. And how you see yourself is more important than how anybody else sees you. And if you can't see yourself as where you're going, you will not get there. And I had to, I'm a hard-headed sucker. Like I had to pound this into my brain. And it took me a decade of failing. That's how hard-headed I am. Before I finally got this one. Before I was finally like, okay, maybe I'll try this and see how it works. Because it works in every other area of success. Think about it. You know, if you're coming into a new year, one of the things they tell you is, what is your goal for the year? Like, I don't set a New Year's resolution. I set a New Year's goal. A resolution is something you hope to do. A goal is something I will do. A goal is something I'm going to go after. A resolution is just something I'm going to talk about, at least for me. Like, every resolution I ever set, it was like, yeah, that was fun for 2 weeks, and then I quit, right? But a goal is something you actually make a plan for and you go after it. You actually start trying to achieve it. And so, here's what I was going to say. So your brain, sorry, I got sidetracked. Your brain does not know the difference between a lie and you telling the truth. So this is where it is okay if you don't exactly believe it. You still gotta say it. Like when I was 288 pounds, it's not like all of a sudden I just changed my beliefs overnight. It's not like I just completely went from I'm big bone to no, I can be a size 2. It's not like even the first time I said it, I completely believed it. But I still said it. You've got to start controlling what you think. You've got to start, look, you're not responsible for all the thoughts that come into your brain, but you are responsible for what you freaking do with them. What you do with them. And so when I would have a thought come into my head of, yeah, right, Carmen, you really think you're going to be able to wear a bikini? That was a thought. What I do with the thought and how I respond to the thought and what I say is my choice. So again, my brain only knows what I tell it. And it's like, dude, this is going to be so awesome. When I'm done losing weight, I am going to rock a bikini. I'm going to wear a bikini on the beach. I'm going to wear a bikini to the water park. When I'm done losing weight, I'm going to be able to ride roller coasters with my kids. When I'm done losing weight, I am going to be hotter at 40 than I was at 20. I'm 39. And I've been wearing the only bathing suits I own are bikinis. When I got unexpectedly pregnant this last year, we had a surprise third baby. We had an IUD in, and my husband and I were just very fertile, evidently. We got pregnant with the IUD in. And so, was not planning on having babies. We already had two. We had a boy, girl. We were completely done. And so even, that was a whole new thing, like walking around the water park as a pregnant woman in a bikini. Like, I was like, wow, I'm one of those chicks. Never saw that coming. And so you guys have got to know, like, when I started saying those things, I didn't exactly believe them. But the more I said them, the more I started to see them. And the more I started to see them, the more serious I got. The less important the ice cream was. The more I thought about my success, the less I thought about my past failures. And before I knew it, no one had to convince me anymore. I knew where I was going. Like, I went from hoping, thinking, praying that maybe one day I could get into a bikini, but I might not look amazing in it, but I'm still going to wear one just because I say I'm going to wear one and I want to no, sucker. Like, I'm not only going to wear one, but I'm going to rock it. As I started saying it, I started to believe it. And have you ever talked to somebody who believes what they're saying? When someone believes what they're saying, they speak with conviction. They speak with that tone in their voice. Like, get out of my way, sucker. I know where I'm going. You can come or you can not come, but here's where I'm going. And you have the power to do that. Do you know that you actually can sculpt a body of your dreams? That you can transform your body by just saying, here's what I'm going to do. Even if you've never done it. Even if everybody in your family is big boned. Even if everybody in your family is overweight. Even if nobody in your family even wears a bathing suit because they don't feel comfortable and confident. You can. You can. Whatever desire you have in your heart, the secret desire that you don't tell anybody about, the one that you dream about, but you don't say because you think you'll sound silly. You're not silly. And that desire was put there for a reason. And it wasn't put there to torture you. And so I want to encourage you to start going after it. I want to encourage you to start thinking about what you're thinking about. I want you to start thinking about how you see yourself, what you identify with, and start changing that. Don't just look in the mirror and see the reflection staring back at you. See beyond that. Don't look where you're at. Look where you're going. And if you can do that, my friend, I am telling you, the sky is the limit. 1 year from today, you will look in that mirror and you will not even recognize the reflection staring back. So anyway, I could get emotional talking about this stuff. Like, this is real for me, because I lived it for so long. Like, I was that morbidly obese person that never knew if skinny was possible, that never knew if bikini was possible. And if I can do it, oh my goodness, you can do it. And so anyway, make sure if you have not, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, share the video. If you know somebody who struggles with how they see themselves, thinking they're big bone, with their past weight loss failures, we all need inspiration. And so anyway, thank you so much for jumping on with us live tonight. Have an amazing week on purpose. We will see you on the next video. Bye.